the other day, I was listening in on the conversation of two women at a cafe. They were in their early 20s talking about how you're expected to live 20 years in retirement. And they were sort of freaking out about the idea that you'd spent 20 years of your life without working. And one of them was like, saying that she wanted to try to work as long as she could, at least part-time, or else I'd go crazy, she said. Now, this sentiment is something that I hear all the time, and I believe it to be one of the key hindrances in our wish to develop our world into one with a different system of the economy and mode of production that could support our world population while also ensuring that it doesn't ruin our planet and thus ability to live in the process. Because the reality is that we've developed to a point where we have technology which makes it no longer necessary for everyone to work. In fact, it makes it necessary that everyone doesn't work, at least not in the same way we do now. But still, concepts like universal basic income keep being tested, and people's immediate reaction to the idea of the population getting paid for not lifting a finger goes something like this.
Good morning to you both. Will Strong, what on earth are you talking about? £1,600 a month and you don't have to work? Why?
There's clearly a whole lot of identity and personal worth and morality even that's tied up in our conception of work, which would make it impossible to create systems where some people probably wouldn't have to work. But besides this, practical political issue, it also opens up questions, I think, that are perhaps even more interesting in an existential context. What would we be without work? Is it possible to live a fulfilling life where you thrive without going to work? And why is something like this so important to us? And why do we feel so strongly that it's morally wrong to get money without working? Now, historically, humans have always had simple but strenuous jobs of hunting and gathering and child rearing. And I mean, it seems quite clear to me that being productive and contributing to the well-being of our society, and thus in this sense, working hard, is one of the key features of living a fulfilling life as a human. Labor seems to be in some sort of symbiotic relationship between the society that labor serves and the individuals within it. Because society benefits from people working by getting the goods of their labor and benefits of cooperation, collaboration. And the people working also benefit by deriving importance and meaning from their work. We are, in this sense, extremely social animals through and through, and I don't think many people ever would advocate for just people not working at all and just sitting on their asses. And this is perhaps where some misconception comes, because even the most socialists of socialists, like Marx, acknowledged that man cannot be defined apart from his labor, because, as he said, as individuals express their life, so they are. What they are, therefore, coincides with production, both with what they produce and with how they produce. But how we consider work today, I think, is quite broken. To us, work means 9 to 5. It means a payslip and an office and a manager. It means some sort of sellable product that we're developing to take to market. And most of us work in the private sector, meaning the outcome of our labor might, but doesn't necessarily help any community. What it definitely does do, however, is create income for the investors who own whatever company you're working for, which is the main objective for why we show up to work every day. Now, there are people we know actually do necessary jobs for the community, which are the ones that became painstakingly obvious during the pandemic. And what also became very obvious during that time was how undervalued most of these fields are. Medical, educational, and service are all fields that are severely underpaid and seemingly permanently understaffed and have mostly extreme working conditions. So in that sense, I don't really think we will ever live in a world where there won't be any jobs. But I do think, however, that our society's needs are ever changing, and how we will be working in the future will probably be, and most likely should be unrecognizable to how we have organized it now. Because there was a time where we needed most people to be hunters, and then we needed most people to be farmers, and then we needed most people to be factory workers, and now we have robots that do pretty much all of that way better than a human can. But we still sorely need more people who work with people. We have a mental health crisis, we have a loneliness epidemic, we have an elderly crisis. And this is not just a matter of like educating more nurses who are capable of caring for patients' basic needs. I think it goes a lot deeper than that. It seems obvious to me that our society would benefit from more storytellers, for example, and athletes, more people who are responsible for like bringing their community together. Artists, psychologists, nurses, doctors, educators, and just less marketing professionals, salespeople, and financial advisors. In other words, there's a whole potential for work that is just not focused around private businesses and product development, but rather around the well-being of our country or city or local community. But this work, crucially, is not work that would be considered valuable seen through like a capitalistic system lens. Not because it isn't, but because the way we see value as humans is via the monetary value that your labor produces, which unfortunately results in extremely important jobs such as raising a child seemingly having no value at all because there's no pay being given to mothers raising children. But also that jobs where value is just complex and hard to calculate become inherently less valuable because we just don't see the monetary value of it, such as teaching. There's no way to put a real price tag on the value that a teacher provides for society. But it's extremely easy, on the other hand, to calculate the real time value of a salesperson. And so, unfortunately, jobs that have a clear-cut value, that are easy to sell, seem more valuable, and people keep wanting those jobs because they keep getting a higher pay, and jobs that are harder to calculate the value of and harder to see the direct benefit of, maybe, those jobs come just like second place to everything. And that's, I think, a shame. And I think that's where the main issue lies, that we need more of those jobs and less of the other jobs. But that's not how the system automatically values it. Like, that's not the natural sense of capitalism. And then there's the other question of why we in general just feel so strongly that it's morally wrong to get money without working. I mean, humans have an intrinsic sense of fairness built into us, which is why young children grasp the idea of sharing without even being taught it. We instinctively know when something is unfair, and we don't want it to be this way. So when we hear about people receiving things for free, like in the case of universal basic income, or in many cases, even like social support, some of us will experience that baby instinct kick in and will whine like another toddler just stole our toys. Free money just isn't fair. But this strong sense of morality perhaps also sort of relies on a misunderstanding, or perversion rather, of what it means to earn money, because the same energy people have for unemployed, poor, or average working people getting free money is just not extended to rich people, who quite literally are as rich as they are because of free money, and they couldn't be as rich as they are if it wasn't for free money. Or landlords whose job is to get free money because investing money means getting shit for free because you had a lot of money to begin with. And perhaps we all need this to be something different, or somehow more morally right than getting like child support, because we too hope that at some point in the future we'll be able to accumulate a big sum of money one day so we can finally have some financial stability and say fuck you to that boss that you hate and quit that job that you have that's completely meaningless to you, so you can lay back, work less, or perhaps work on something that you actually want to do that isn't just what you happen to do, because if you didn't, you'd starve. But the stupid thing is that today, as I mentioned, with our technology, with our technological advancement, this should be possible for a large part of people to do already. But it's not a reality, since the profits of this technology doesn't go to the people or to ensuring systems where this would be possible for everyone. It goes to the owners of whatever company that has this new technology implemented. It's not a problem of if we have the ability or if it's possible. It's an organizational issue, and it's also in that sense an existential issue, because as long as we hold on to this idea that people who sit on a lot of money morally deserve it and people who don't should be shunned, we will never be able to restructure our society to be communal and considerate and fair rather than simply capitalistic. People I meet are quite caught up in how they will earn money, especially I think people in our generation and the generation above, the millennials. Of course they are. We are going to struggle economically, and it's a huge issue, and it's not looking so bright for any of us. But I always also like to ask what people would do if, just the thought experience, what would you do if you got paid the same amount for every job? You got paid 100K, so you had more than enough to live. What job would you choose then? And it's so interesting to see how many different answers come from that, and how, some of them are like self-interested, like people want to just explore their creativity or be a food blogger or whatever. And other people would like to do things that benefit the society. And I think that's amazing. And I think it's quite naturally built into us as human beings to want to contribute to our society. And I think that I think that shit like universal income and not working a 9 to 5 in the way that we do now will not stop work from existing in general. If anything, it could free up time so people can have the freedom to do actual valuable jobs for society and help people out and contribute to their society and talk to these older people who seem extremely lonely. And I don't think it's something that should be feared or shunned just because you technically don't have an occupation or a job in that sense. I think we should celebrate not having to work so that we can restructure our society to see what parts of society needs, more work and needs more people participating in it. And that just might be spending time with old people. It might be spending time with your family, spending time with the community. Basic stuff like that, which we forget to do and don't have the time to do anyways when you have to go sit at an office from 9 to 5. So that's that. That's all I thought about that.